The writing for Rhaena in House of the Dragon Season 3 was racist. Initially, I was not going to make this into a full-length video. Making a television show is hard. I have not done it yet, and I was not behind the scenes or in the room where it happened. Plus, I enjoy the cast. I don't want them to hate me because I do think they are immensely talented. But I made a TikTok a few weeks ago that went viralish for me, making the same claim that the writing for Rhaena in House of the Dragon has been racist. Everything about Rhaena's storyline is racist, and I don't think that they intended it that way, but it is a complete and total mishandling of two characters, and I'm pissed. And so many racists came out of the woodwork, and I took that personally.
I am the crown.
You know, as soon as I worry that like my upcoming essay collection will lose steam, but thankfully racist fantasy fans will take any opportunity to be hateful, even about a storyline they don't even like.
I am awash in dilemmas and deficiencies. Let me find my footing.
General disclaimer though, you are allowed to like House of the Dragon as it is. A TikToker I really love said, House of the Dragon is so much more enjoyable when you don't have an annoying bitch in your ear saying it's not fire and blood. And, oh no, wrong side. I am one of those annoying bitches.
With all due respect to urban bitches.
And you know, one day I want to be one of those people who has no interest in the original book series and never makes comparisons. I got so close to that with Wheel of Time and also The Witcher, but then I read the books and I was like, you know what? The white men unfortunately are right on that one. The show is not good in comparison.
Fuck.
House of the Dragon takes a lot of shit from the fandom at large, and I would say some of that is not fair. I think as an adaptation, it has ambitions and a vision to tell a story about this family civil war and wanting to expand and deconstruct archetypes that the history textbook style of the book sets up. I think the cast is incredible, and again, there have been moments that have been invented by the show that are very powerful. Everyone really loves Helena in this version of the series overall, and those are things that the show invented. And we can both acknowledge there is some good here. When its own invention does well, it is leaps and bounds beyond many other shows. But its pacing issues, its character choices, and lack of real intersectional storytelling stop it from being a situation where it's The Shining the movie versus The Shining the book, a situation where both are works of art, but are different in how they present the lead characters.
And how'd you get that, eh? By exploiting the workers.
So we're going to discuss Rhaena, the things that I find racist about it, and this will include spoilers for House of the Dragon Season 3 and Fire and Blood up to the Battle of Tumbleton that we see in the show. Whenever I talk about race and racism in fantasy, I feel like people think that I am in general talking out of my ass or making leaps that are not rooted in the history of the fantasy genre. In my White Savior video and in my Tall, Dark, and Handsome video, even when I explain and highlight specific things to get you to where I found my conclusion, there is this inherent, sometimes violent antagonism and cynicism around just my own personage talking about this topic. Since the beginning of speculative fiction, the genre in the West, race has been a part of its construction. In science fiction and fantasy, starting with Robert E. Howard and Edgar Rice Burroughs to Tolkien and Moorcock, they often use and adapt narratives and images of different marginalized groups, and that has just always been a basic world-building element. Burroughs and Howard, especially in their work, were writing at the peak of American eugenics.
They embraced a new pseudoscience born in Britain called eugenics, which falsely claimed, with no evidence, that everything from poverty to prostitution, disabilities to what they called feeble-mindedness, could be eliminated if the individuals they dismissed as socially defective could be stopped from reproducing.
They were both concerned with their genealogy and the concept of race as it existed and was developing in their time. And by then, they were thinking about things like the Anglo-Saxon race. In the introduction to the Complete Weird Tales Omnibus of Conan, Finn J.D. John explains that after World War I, the illusions of the Western world were gone, and the loyalty that was once held for a head of state, a king, or a queen was transferred onto, quote, a semi-mythical construct of ethnic community, a spirit we know today as ethnic nationalism. Howard himself was really invested in his Irish Celtic heritage at that time and was very focused on what that meant in this post-World War world, which is a bridge towards eugenics. Exactly. It's also an ethnic heritage not rooted in history, but the illusion of a narrow world of whiteness and superiority. And we see this in how people talk about even more inclusive works. Just recently, Andy Serkis commented that Tolkien crafted a white world, which in itself is humorous because Serkis is not white himself, not fully. And so how does it work that he sees himself in this work as a Middle Eastern Armenian person when the person he's playing is Gollum? But that's a longer video. Race and Tolkien is coming up. It's going to be a next year's journey because it's been a lot. Tolkien's world, because it is coming out of root of this very white Eurocentric vision, even if he is more nuanced than that, he ends up getting put into that same book. And because many white people see the default whiteness of this world as emblematic of his worldview, that's why you have many white supremacists falling in love with this series and turning evil objects into names of companies. And then they're like, surprise, we're the bad guys. I could tell once you named your thing after the evil orb.
A Palantir is a dangerous tool, Saruman. Why? We do not know who else may be watching.
George R.R. Martin is a left-leaning political person. He was a conscientious objector during the Vietnam War draft. He worked at AmeriCorps Vista and is a member of Americans Against the War on Gaza. He is also very well read in history and the deep weeds of the classics within the fantasy genre, which means he knows the history of racialized tropes in the fantasy genre. He uses them to illustrate his broader anti-colonial messages and messages about who is considered a barbarian or not. He is not always perfect, but he is intentional.
I saw my god's house burn. There where I had healed men and women, beyond counting. In the streets I saw piles of heads. The head of a baker who makes my bread. The head of a young boy that I had cured of fever just 3 moons past. So, tell me again exactly what it was that you saved.
It's a kind of intentionality that his audience is constantly saying is not there, which is unfortunate because they'll think an author is so great and so smart, but then think that certain things happen by accident, as if he's not writing a narrative. Martin has said in the past he played with the phenotype of the Targaryens because the white-haired, pale, magical super race has been done many times. See Elric from the Michael Moorcock series. Right from the start, I wanted the Targaryens, and by extension, the Valyrians from whom they were descended, to be a race apart, with distinctive features that set them apart from the rest of Westeros, and helped explain their obsession with the purity of their blood. To do this, I made a conventional high fantasy choice and gave them silver gold hair, purple and violet eyes, fine chiseled aristocratic features. That worked well enough, at least in the books, on the show less so. But in recent years, it has occurred to me from time to time that it might have made for an interesting twist if instead I had made the Dragon Lords of Valyria, and therefore the Targaryens, black. Maybe I could have kept the silver hair too. Though no, that comes too close to dark elf territory. But still, if I'd had dark-skinned dragon lords invade and conquer and dominate a largely white Westeros, though that choice would have brought its own perils. The Targaryens have not all been heroic after all. Some of them have been monsters, madmen, so, well, it's all moot. The idea came to me about 20 years too late.
You are the blood of old Valyria.
The world of Westeros is more diverse than Game of Thrones the show depicted, and not just in the designated brown areas like Essos and Dorne. King's Landing is a port city, so there are people from all around the known world who were there, including people from the Summer Isles, who, quote, are strong and tall, a handsome people eager to learn. Their skin color includes nut brown, teak, ebony, and polished jet. Their hair and eyes are black. I love the fantasy Caribbeans. It's very of its time. It's very 90s. Summer Isles are the fictional Caribbean people, and we see a few of them throughout the text. We have Chataya and Aliyaya, who own a high-end brothel in King's Landing, which is often featured in Game of Thrones and A Clash of Kings, the books, but those characters were largely combined into the character of Roz, and instead of it being their brothel, it was given to Littlefinger. Jalabberjo is an exiled prince from the Summer Isles who has kept refuge in the Red Keep. He is in the archery competition at the Hand's Tourney. He is present in many court scenes, including the Small Folk Riot. He is certainly not a major character, but he's more of a prominent supporting character. He is mentioned in every book. He shows up in the entourage of this world, but he was never cast. And for some reason, they thought the exiled prince who wears colorful outfits and has been petitioning the crown for years to retake his throne, just not interesting enough backstory. Why have him in there? Meanwhile, they age up Missandei, which I love the actress they played her, but her fate in the adaptation is to die. They elevate Grey Worm, who Martin said in 2003 he has no plans for Grey Worm's race or personal history to become important at this time, though he does reserve the right to change his mind because things happen. But we did get to see Jacob Anderson be Louis and be so much better.
Avitolvio and Neurogento Sibrosan, Dario Valerio Valeriat.
They have also race-bent two characters, Salador San, and his entire character pretty much got reduced to one line.
We're not attacking King's Landing so that you can rape the Queen.
I'm not going to rape her, I'm going to fuck her.
And Zara Zohan Daxos, who was turned into an immigrant from the Summer Isles because why is he black, I guess, and is killed off in the second season, even though his book character is alive and relevant as of A Dance with Dragons.
Thank you, Zara Zohan Daxos. Thank you for teaching me this lesson.
I am King of Karth. I can help you now.
So we have a trend of adaptations within this world and many others like it, adding diversity in a way that only makes the work more problematic and removed reoccurring but smaller characters of color. But even going beyond that, the fandom at large either ignores those issues, ignores what even that small amount of diversity does for the world building, and try very hard to isolate and hyper-specify which characters are allowed to be non-white. Enter the casting of House Valerian of Driftmark.
Lord Corlys of House Velaryon, Lord of the Tides, Master of Driftmark, and his lady wife, Princess Rhaena Targaryen, and their son and heir, Selena Velaryon.
Along with House Targaryen, House Velaryon is an ancient family with roots in Old Valyria. They have been in Westeros, specifically in their seat of Driftmark, for even longer than the Targaryens, who were there about 150 years before the conquest. They also have the Valyrian features of silver gold or silver hair with purple eyes, and sometimes with blue or green-gray eyes. House the Dragon made the members of House Velaryon black.
Do keep trying, Selena. Sooner or later you may get one who looks like you.
So black that even Baela and Rhaena have full Valyrian, aka black features, despite their mother being biracial and their father being white. Race science is ridiculous and doesn't really make sense, but it is funny to me how, like, this is a constant issue, even though, just breaking it down in general, Lucerys, Jacaerys, and Joffrey looking the way they do is not completely out of the bounds of, like, reliability, but whatever. This is a fantasy world. Among those of us who were happy to see black actors get jobs, were aware that this casting was going to be odd, if you knew the source material and all the deep lore, especially because Aegon, aka Aegon the Conqueror, the first to sit upon the Iron Throne, his mother is Valena Valerian, which means him and his sister wives were also half Valerian. Therefore, the entire makeup of the Targaryens would look fundamentally very different than how they've been depicted thus far. Like, it's a lot of light-skinned babies in this family, if this is the case. Race swapping on this show has been a very, very mixed bag narratively. On just the visual level, all these actors have been amazing, and it distresses me so much the amount of racism and vitriol they have had to deal with. It's just unfair. Writing-wise, however, it has been rough. Corlys Velaryon is one of the best characters in the Dance of the Dragons, so it's translated very well for him. However, there are still some moments of imagery with Corlys that give me pause. Love seeing a black man get taken by a white people with bodies hanging from trees in the background. Love seeing him in chains. Love it, love it, love it.
You are the blood of old Valyria.
And again, I hate the idea like, oh, you're just saying like black people can't be hurt. Not saying that. Not saying that. Just saying, let's just use a little visual clues. Laenor is interesting because a lot of his storyline is shrunken. He was actually the person after his mother Rhaenys who was put up to have the best claim on the Iron Throne besides Viserys. Laenor's sexuality is made the butt of very many jokes, including in the book Kristen Cole, saying that if Rhaenyra's sons go to the Iron Throne, quote, they will turn the Red Keep into a brothel. No man's daughter will be safe, nor any man's wife, even the boys. We know what Laenor was. He does get on paper a better ending, and we get to see him ride a dragon, so that's a slight win, even though him dying at battle would have been more interesting than him just kind of like going off and being bald-headed, but
I hate the gods for making me as they did.
I do not.
Sadly, the same cannot be said for Rhaena. And I've talked about this before in the Disposable Black Girlfriend episode, but Rhaena was Daemon's second wife, and they were, by all accounts, in love, even if there was some ambition there. She was originally betrothed to someone else, so Daemon killed him in a duel. Love that. And Rhaenyra and Rhaena were very close and visited each other all the time. Rhaenyra was also there when Rhaena died. With all her strength gone from her labor and weakened further from grief over her lost child, childbed fever set in. Neither Driftmark's Maester nor Maester Gerardus from Dragonstone could heal her. After 3 days of delirium, Rhaena died. It is said that she attempted to reach Vhagar to fly one more time before she died, but collapsed on the tower steps where she died. Daemon carried her back to bed, where he sat vigil over Rhaena's body together with Rhaenyra. Wouldn't that have been such a really good visual to see, especially in comparison to Viserys and Aemma? But whatever. Meanwhile, on the show, we have zero insight into Rhaena and Daemon's courtship, because while Rhaena and short-haired Daemon, peak hotness, that is all we get. Then we fast forward to them in self-exile and their marriage being depicted as genuinely neutral to unhappy, which is bullshit.
You do not sleep.
Well, how can I with you haunting my every move?
Perhaps I too am not the wife you would have wished for yourself.
Rhaena.
It does not pain me.
Rhaena dies in Dragonfire, but we don't even really get to see Daemon deal with his grief, comfort his daughters, Baela and Rhaena. That was cut out. Even in the conflict with Aemon, claiming the dragon, he never seems a bit concerned that Baela was hurt, that his late wife's dragon had been claimed by someone who's a rival family member to him. This was one of the major red flags to me when it came to the adaptional changes being made, especially because it played directly into the disposable black girlfriend trope, which they could have easily avoided if they had done the book accurate storyline, which again is always a source of frustration for me, because when the character is white, they get a better story, and then they become black, and it's like, oh, but aren't you happy that they're just here? No, I'm not actually. I know romantic love is not the only kind of love, but who gets to be shown affection is important, which is why it has been so frustrating that the show really spent some time developing Baela and Jace's bond over the last 3-ish seasons, only for them to be denied any true intimacy on screen. No kiss, not even on the cheek, and people said it was because that at the time of initially filming, Harry Collette was a minor, which, fair enough, he was about 17, 18 at the time, and Bethany Antonia was in her early to mid-20s. No one's saying they need to, make out or consummate their marriage on screen. A kiss on the hand, a kiss on the cheek. Like, we have so many quiet moments relatively for how much they get screen time of them together.
Who did this?
Don't touch me! He attacked Baylor!
Have you had word from your father?
No.
Ravens were sent to Harrenhal seeking news of
Nada. And they were both in their 20s when filming this newest season, so why not one big damn kiss before Jace dies? That entire scene where he's like, come with me, that's a kiss moment, girl.
Come with me.
Think of what we could do together.
Meanwhile, now she's making out and sleeping with Alan after knowing him for 3 episodes. Let's be serious.
We're very dutiful.
Abubakar Salim is a handsome man, but this relationship feels so forced. Bela has been presented as a very competent dragon rider. Relationship with Rhaenyra is important. Jace and Rhaenys have been huge parts of her character. But the changes they have made put her in direct conflict with someone that she's going to be aligned with, which is Rhaenyra. They make this antagonism between them, which is based upon nothing. And they even seem to forget from episode to episode what their relationship is like. Following the death of Jace, she throws herself into finding Vhagar or Sheep Stealer, but then she begins to resent Rhaenyra. And when it's revealed that Rhaena is part of the reason the Battle of the Gullet failed, it changes nothing about their dynamic at all. And Bela's only scene in the finale is her telling Rhaenyra off, which is very superficial because somehow they forgot that show Rhaenyra knows how to manage her staff because she ruled Dragonstone for over a decade.
This dispute bears looking into. There will be country folk who know where the lines have been drawn for generations.
That is easy enough.
And again, it contradicts other scenes we got where Bela was like, no, I want to keep going. I don't want to rest.
If Aemond has shown himself once, he may do so again. Take no risk, but ascertain his path, his purpose.
If I may, Your Grace, we arrived back only this morning. The Lady Bela has not eaten, much less slept.
I am more than ready to fly.
Well, it will not serve us if your eyes are weary and your beast fatigued. I will send Daemon.
It wasn't your fault.
She won't look at me, and I cannot say I blame her. We are 2 days behind Aemond at best. I've long tired of this endless searching. I cannot help but think I'm being punished by Rhaenyra, or at least sent far from her sight. She thinks of us only as tools to be wielded.
And Bela is also not feeling any anxiety or feelings about her sister's play in this role with Jace or any of the things that have happened. Like, they made up this storyline, made up this conflict, but the conflict is not going to add anything to these characters unless they completely change certain things, because literally having Bela and Rhaenyra in conflict this way messes up explicit future storylines. But that's a problem for 2 years from now, child, so we'll see that in 2028.
I depend on you, Bela.
I will see Rhaenyra ascend the Iron Throne, as Rhaenys wished, as Rhaenys herself should have.
Insolent child.
Now let's get to the thing that I, started off with. Rhaena and Nettles combined storyline. Ultimate mess.
The villagers gossip of a wild girl in the mountains living amongst nettles and sheep. I am finished with the matter.
So as many people have said, Rhaena's storyline in the book is very different from Rhaena's in the show. In the book, Rhaena is in the Vale under the wardship of Jane Eyre, who is Lady of the Vale, power lesbian. Jane Eyre is aligned with Rhaenyra because 1, they are cousins, and 2, as female rulers, they both are teamed up with each other to create a sense of female rulership. Rhaena is sent to watch over 3 dragon eggs, and for most of the war, she is kind of living a soft life with, quote, comfort and privilege, with maids brushing her hair and drawing her baths, singers compose odes to her beauty, and knights jousted for her favor.
But should all come to ruin here, you will bear our hope for the future.
It's giving Gwen from Merlin, and we deserve to see it. She's also in an implied romance with Sir Corwin Corbray, and eventually one of her dragon eggs does hatch Morning. That's Rhaena. She really has a lot of potential to be a happy Sansa story, sort of like seeing the emergence of another Marjorie Tyrell type, which, considering people love Marjorie, Nettles is one of the dragon seeds during the war. Unlike the rest of them who have very visible Targaryen Valyrian features, she is described as, quote, small, skinny, brown-skinned girl with black hair and brown eyes. At 16, she ends up taming the wild dragon sheep stealer by bringing it freshly slaughtered sheep every morning, and she ends up taming him and becoming a very capable dragon rider. Nettles and Sheepstealer are at the Battle of the Gullet along with Hugh Hammer and Ulf White. However, they are not at all responsible for Jace getting killed. She is not at all responsible. Jace gets killed by his own poor flying, you know, like he's just too low, and for some reason No has a Valerian dagger to like cut up those things. Ridiculous. And that was significant because one, she deconstructs all of that, and then she also forms a relationship with Daemon that some people see as sexual, others see as paternal. It is unclear if she is a bastard child of his or not. It is never confirmed. Sheepstealer and Caraxes also bond so much that eventually when Nettles is forced to leave because of everything that happens in Tumbleton, Caraxes let out a scream that shattered all of the windows. They loved each other, y'all. And she leaves before the dance is over, and as far as we know, she survives. Very different from what we see in the show. And so somehow they decided to combine these two characters together that serve very different purposes and then go on, girl, give us nothing.
I am finished with the matter.
So Ryan Condal, the showrunner, explained why he combined these two characters in an interview with IGN. We knew that Sheepstealer's writer, that character, causes extreme strife for Daemon and Rhaenyra's relationship. And that was sort of the place that we started in. We felt in season 2 that we were telling the story of the Dragon Seeds pretty completely and robustly in terms of all the different walks of life that come to riding dragons. Condal explained. Pause. Pause. Okay. That's a lie. You're a liar, sir. You know what? Let's just keep it going. Let's keep going. And it felt like pairing a wild dragon with a lady of noble blood that then becomes somewhat feral herself, which is a very interesting story to tell that helped keep us at the core of where we wanted to take Rhaenyra and Daemon's relationship. Condal continued, which is like the most dangerous words you can say. It did not feel like, to us, an infidelity story between Daemon and Nettles was someplace that we wanted to go with Daemon and Rhaenyra, given everything they had been through to this point. I think the audience really wants to see this couple work out, but I think more interestingly for Daemon is for the first time he's doing something very self-interested, but he's doing it in the name of protecting his daughter, which means it's not self-interested, which we haven't really seen from him to date. It shows a more mature Daemon that's still Daemon.
You know, my favorite thing about the movie is like it feels like a movie.
And this is going to be a story that continues to obviously unfold and evolve and play out over the course of the season. We'll have ripple effects that take us all the way to the end of the Dance of the Dragons. So much to unpack there. First of all, not wanting to have an infidelity storyline when Rhaenyra is getting munched out by Mysaria. Crazy work. Lesbians don't count. Next, quote, I think more interestingly for Daemon, it's the first time he's doing something very self-interested, but he's doing it in the name of protecting his daughter. That's because you wrote him excluding everything that was nuanced about him. But you also have shown all the time a whole storyline where he is empathetic and tender towards his brother. Like, he loved Viserys. All of his flaws or everything, he does things constantly in the name of his family all the time. One of the defining traits about him is how much he loved his brother. 25 toes down. The quote where they go, it felt like pairing a wild dragon with a lady of noble blood that then becomes somewhat feral herself, which is a very interesting story to tell.
Every word of what you just said was wrong.
This statement speaks to a total lack of understanding how black savagery comes across in sci-fi and fantasy, and it shows that there were no black people in this writing room. It is actually not an interesting story. And most importantly, it speaks to the lack of understanding about Nettles' importance. Something that I've seen passed over in other fan communities, and it really frustrates me because Nettles is canonically a black dragon rider. She is the only known dragon rider to bond with a dragon the way that she did. Something that is so suspicious to people at the top that it's part of why Rhaenyra is so paranoid about her later on. The Black Queen, little bit blood supremacist, you know what I mean? Like all Targaryens.
I shouldn't blame you for it, truly. Insolence runs in your blood.
She's a common thing with the stink of sorcery upon her. My prince would ne'er lie with such a low creature. You need only look at her to know she has no drop of dragon's blood in her. It was with spells that she bound a dragon to her, and she has done the same with my lord husband. Very significant. Even if it's sexual or not. Martin has talked about being interested in exploring Nettles in other work as one of the characters that is really interesting, you know, where she comes from, where she goes.
Is there a character that you would have liked to explore and write more about, but not able to in A Song of Ice and Fire or Fire and Blood? Well, yes, there are, in fact, a lot of characters. Or Nettles, you know, is a dragon rider in the dance. Where does she come from? Where does she go to? What is her life like? What is her life like after she fades from the public sphere?
Her heritage and the open-ended about why she's able to do this thing that we are told that only someone with Targaryen blood can do is compelling. Also, to be frank, if you know anything about the fantasy genre and you don't understand the significance of having a brown girl, black girl, be able to ride a dragon, when we are told that the only people who can do that are the pale white people of the chosen blood race, then I don't know why you think you're a serious person. This is not an accident. George R. Martin is not writing in a vacuum, right? And then the economy of characters excuse also doesn't hold weight because by that logic, why do we need both Ulf and Hugh Hammer having this whole backstory? Because especially expanding Hugh over the previous season to make his claiming of a dragon more poignant by giving him a fictional family, like, okay, but Nettles giving sheep to Sheep Stealer wasn't interesting. Baela and Rhaena being forced to take Nettles' place as antagonistic forces to Rhaenyra ignores the fact that Rhaenyra loves Baela and Rhaena. That those are her cousins, her stepkids, her nieces, that they were engaged to her sons.
Your little cousins have lost their mother. Could use a kind word.
Which makes this scene,
insolence runs in your blood,
not only make very little sense, but has so much racial text in it that it's very gross. Because at the end of the day, she wouldn't treat Baela and Rhaena the way she would treat the Dragon Seeds, who are outsiders. It comes across as the only reason that this combination of Baela and Rhaena getting some of Nettles' paranoia trappings is because they're black. Especially because if you aren't going to be adapting any of Rhaena's joy and inventing endless suffering for her, and you aren't adapting any of Nettles' extraordinary qualities and just making her version that's Rhaena better at controlling a dragon and becoming feral, not only have you neither adapted book Rhaena or Nettles' storyline, but you've also devalued this black female character on screen. So I realized I forgot to talk about the slap. So the slap happens when Rhaena is in the cave looking very disheveled, and she sees Baela and Moondancer and Adam, Sea Smoke's dragon, and she follows them allegedly. We don't get to see that. And she's brought back to the Vale, and Jane Eyre tears into her and then slaps her. So many things about this scene are like deeply, deeply obnoxious. But I think what is most frustrating is that Rhaena is a Targaryen princess, right? Her father is the king consort. Her stepmother is the queen. She is the half-sister of, you know, the two younger Targaryen babies and the former fiance of the future Lord of Driftmark, okay? She had the lady to mess with, right? And Jane Eyre slaps her so cavalierly. And it's like, did we not just see in A Night of the Seven Kingdoms that if you hit a Targaryen royal, a princess of the blood, which Rhaena is, she is the granddaughter of queens, and kings, okay, that you would get your shit rocked?
You laid hands upon the blood of the dragon.
The girl's finger was snapped in half.
No matter the cause, it is never wise to strike a king's grandson.
And they're less powerful in that moment than they are in House of the Dragon. Huh? Huh? And if I sound weird, it's because I'm on day 3 of Invisalign. And this is just my life right now. Me and Bela, we're gonna make it work. Bela, where are you? She's like, just avoiding the camera. So that's a whole thing as well. And it just speaks to the way in which them trying to invent this savage storyline, they have to indirectly ignore things that we've already been, oh, nice jump, honey, that we've already been told or shown is the privileges of being a Targaryen, right? And it again shows that they are taking someone of noble birth, dragging her down to do what? Meneno. And these are the same comparisons I was realizing that reminded me of my frustrations in the early seasons of Game of Thrones about how they changed things with Dothraki, how they wrote Sansa, how they changed small elements of Catelyn's character and Sansa's character to make the narrative more palpable to a male audience, a general male audience, and largely ignore the things that made these character nuances. Like, those were huge problems that people kind of brush to the side because they don't like Catelyn, they don't like Sansa. So it doesn't matter if those characters are being underwritten, if they're not getting their due, until all of a sudden you see that it's them underwriting and trying to course correct how people feel about Catelyn and Sansa that leads to Tyrion going from being like a lead character who's also morally gray, who becomes even darker as the series progresses, to them not even going to lean into it, to finding a way to make Shay the antagonist in that scene when she's a victim, and erasing on the nuance of Tyrion's identity and how it plays together into just making him a total victim. And those are big narrative problems for a series that wants to be morally gray and have these bigger narratives, and then it just kind of dilute them. And the Corlys stuff also frustrates me with the made-up animosity that Corlys has towards Rhaenyra at this juncture in the narrative. All of this is also part of his own making. Corlys has been fighting for his family's rights to be part of the Iron Throne for ages. He's the one who pushed the marriage between Laenor and Rhaenyra. He's friends with Daemon. You know, they fought together at the Stepstones. He was fine with Laena and Daemon being together. All of these things are part of him trying to imbue the Targaryen legacy with the Valyrian.
Selena and Rhaenyra's children shall take their father's name, Balarion, in keeping with our traditions. However, at such time when their firstborn ascends the Iron Throne, he or she will do so bearing the name Targaryen.
And in the book, but it's true, like when he asks for Alan and Adam to be legitimized, she's like, yeah. She just says yes. And in this, it's like they have to make up a thing to make a conflict. And again, because now the Velaryons are black, it now becomes a racialized conflict that didn't exist in 2 different ways in the original source material. If you're not actually going to deal with the nuances of the racial stuff that you're putting into the show, and you're never going to make it into a bigger deal besides trying to make Rhaenyra a hypocrite, then why are we... That means that you only see these black bodies as like little, you know, facilitators for your little twists. Like, and when he says that I acknowledged your children who are bastards, I'm like, first of all, you know who also legitimized those children? Your son Laenor, who loved those fucking boys.
Our marriage, I tried. Our boys, I do love them.
I know.
Yeah, he was out and about doing gay shit, but he also said that these are his sons in outside stuff. He carried Joffrey. He named Joffrey. That's the one you should care the most about, and I do love the memes that are like, maybe Joffrey's his. The ones like Viserys in heaven being like, I told you he had his nose. He did love those children. And to be clear, those are, when Jace dies, defending the gullet, that's your grandson.
You would have me cast an even darker shadow over those little boys than already exists.
We are alone here, husband. You can speak the plain truth as we both know it. Rhaenyra's children are not of your blood.
History not remember blood. It remembers names.
That's your grandson, who has memories of your son being his father. Yeah, he also knew Harmon was his daughter, but he also loved Lenore as well, who died, who saw you as Papa. And now you acted ridiculous. You had your own granddaughter tell you that they are fighting to put Rhaenyra on the throne the way Rhaenys should have been. And all of a sudden I went out his head for these two illegitimate children that he ain't never paid not 7 mines to. What? They forget that these characters are full of contradictions for the most part. And Corlys may be the smartest dude in the room for most of the time, but when it comes to this shit, he's not clean. I was annoyed. The slap was annoying. The Corlys stuff is very forced. And even though it's nice to see everybody black on that thing, except for Rhaena, sorry, you was not at the beach at that particular junction to be in the family black group chat, and it's very upsetting. And as someone with the blood of old Valyria, I'ma stand on business. Okay, we was dragons. We was dragons.
You are the blood of old Valyria.
One last edit. I was at Anime NYC on Saturday because I did a panel about ranking all the anime daddies. It was great. We're gonna try and do it again next year. And I was trying so hard. I walked down every single aisle of Artist Alley to find one Rhaenyra related print, and I found one. And it is Rhaenyra, which, you know, I do love a Toxic Yuri. I do like them, even though I don't love all the writing for it. So I want to thank Shark Tears, aka Laura Bervinsky. Cannot wait to figure out where I'm going to put it. I'll talk about Rhaenyra and the very sexist writing about how her complexity is being ignored. Also, my friend Jessie Gender and Sarcastic Chorus all have videos up about this. I don't want to be someone who's just totally relied on the book, but again, it's so hard when I see the racism that these actors deal with. Bethany, who is also a lesbian, and then the actor who plays Rhaena, who's also a non-binary person, dealing with all of this shit. And then to have storylines that do them no justice, give them no depth, and limit their vulnerability, it is just so aggravating because so we've been dealing with all of this racism, all of this weirdness, and you still can't do justice to them when you made this up. Where if we just kept it the way it was and only had that one token black character, that token black character had more to say about blackness than any of the imaginary discourses they make up with the Valyrians.
He knows that those children are not Velaryon. They're white.
So, make your own thing is a phrase that often comes up when black or non-white fans talk about representation in fantasy. Just go write your own stories. We do. They don't get adapted because it's assumed white people will not watch them. Octavia E. Butler is one of the most important sci-fi authors of her generation. Her work has only been adapted into one bad TV show once. N.K. Jemisin has won 3 Nebulas in a row. No adaptation. George R.R. Martin was trying to get Nnedi Okorafor's work made since 2017. Children of Blood and Bone by Tony Adeyemi is just now being adapted after years of development hell and is still dealing with a bunch of controversy right now surrounding it, which is also creating a lot of division. We haven't seen anything for Legendborn, which despite being a best-selling series, when the latest book came out, people couldn't find it on the shelves. Even when white authors make black leading characters, that might not even happen. In George R. R. Martin's novella series Night Flyers, the cover and first film whitewashed the main lead character because they didn't think it would sell with a black woman on screen. The big problem, needless to say, was the race of the character depicted. No way that was mythologically my dark-skinned, genetically engineered superwoman. I was not happy. Melanthala was black, I pointed out. My publisher acknowledged as much, but declined to make a change. "Do you want your book to sell?" he asked me. "Of course I did," I replied. "Well, if we put a black woman on the cover, no one will buy it." I was not in a position of strength. I, in fact, was hanging on to my career by my fingernails. Still, I did continue to protest. The publisher's assertions shocked me. This was a science fiction book after all. The fans I knew read books with elves and vampires and green-skinned Martians on the cover. I could not believe what I was being told. What was the evidence for this, I asked. It was something that, quote, everyone knew, I was told. Besides, the cover had already been paid for. As the years passed, I grew even more unhappy. With the cover and with myself. No, I probably did not have the power to get the cover changed. not then, but I could have tried harder, argued longer, made a bigger fuss, gone public as other braver writers did. Instead, I went along. I did not have the courage of my convictions. When I talk about this topic and people are like, you're just making things up, you're just erased because you're black. Unfortunately, I don't have to. I grew up as a teenager in an era where we were told that black faces on books would not sell, even if the protagonist was black. Even if the writer was white and the protagonist was black. We're not making this up. You cannot have a genre that has its biggest heroes written in the thrall of American eugenics and then think race is not a real issue. It is not fun to feel this way about a genre that you love and enjoy despite its issues, but it does not help that we, as BIPOC people, are given subpar depictions of race-bent characters, which we are not even asking for, and then we deal with racism and bad storytelling, and then fans acting as though we're making up these issues when we can point to the history of this genre, to other authors who are talking about this storytelling device and telling you from their own experience that there is a racial implication here. Because I like pulp fiction. I like this aura. I know it's got eugenics in it. I still enjoy it. I read Tarzan. I'm reading this right now. It's there. John Carter of Mars, former Confederate. It's right there. These are stories that are foundational to the world, and the authors tell you what they felt. But if we bring out that that is the root of the genre, and that when people are doing white savior stuff, deconstructional or otherwise, that's a part of it, they're like, no, you guys are just woke. It's just DEI pilled. How am I DEI pilled when the second and third person to ever win a Nebula award is a black gay man?
Now check that.
House of the Dragon, complicated show. I really still love the cast. Love Matt Smith, love Emma Darcy. I love the cast so much. Especially with A Night of the Seven Kingdoms having hit it out the park so hard, I am in just such distress of how this amazing show that has so many amazing things it wants to talk about can't do any of them as well as they could. It's really sad and disappointing. And I'm so sad that rather than having a version of Rhaena that was compelling and different, and or having a character that was deconstruction, that was deconstructing like Nettles, we got this, and it has absolutely nothing to say. And I do wish that white reviewers who have access would also talk about this more. It's really exhausting, and I love them, but to hear like House of R barely talk about this, or mention these major racial discrepancies in the text and how that clearly has implications, and it falls on black and brown creators and their allies to have to speak about this. And if we're the only ones doing it, everyone acts like we're crazy.
You are the blood of old Valyria.
Anyway, next week, we're going to have a fun time. We're going to do some fun episode stuff because I want to talk about musicals, but in a particular kind of way. So we'll have that next week because I'm tired of being angry about stuff. I want to be happy and I don't have to worry about any books.